Welcome to week 5, day 21 of the fall 2024 programming fundamentals with C Sharp. This is Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. So today we're going to go ahead and go over the chapter 6 hands-on test, part 1 and 2. And we'll also do a little walkthrough of the chapter 6 labs, part 2. I went ahead and made the hands-on test part 1 and 2 visible within inside Rankin. So you have 3 days to complete that. Let's go ahead and look at the rubric for this. So I wanted to point out, there's 200 point part 1's 100 points and part 2's 100 points. So altogether, that's 200 points for the hands-on test this week, and that's a substantial. Our other ones were only 100 points, so it's a little, much more substantial, double of what we normally have, and also hands-on tests are 40% of your grade, so it's an important one to do well at. Get those points. Please make sure some of the students have been putting things in different directories and that. We have those directories set up for labs and hands-on tests, so please put those in the correct directories. Okay, this first one here is a GUI application that you can search for a bookstore inventory of books. You can search by author name, by ISBN number, and you can perform a keyword search on the name of the on the author name or the book name, or the keywords of the book, sorry. So here you need to go ahead and create either parallel arrays or list, all right? So you have 4 of them, one for name, one for keywords, one for author, and one for the ISBN. Make sure you come down here before you get too far into things, and make sure you look at how you're going to be graded on this. The first 3 are about naming conventions. And then the next one is store the books in parallel arrays or list. Then you need to be able to search on all 3: author name, ISBN, and keyword. Display all information that's returned. And make sure if there's a failed search that you display an error message saying it cannot be found. Make sure that it's case sensitive here. Let me actually highlight that. So most of the time people, you can use 2 uppercase or 2 lower, 2 upper or 2 lower. Most people do 2 lower. Keyword search looks both the name and keyword of the book. And then you need to implement the 4 different methods and return values from each custom method are used in the calling method. Okay, so it's telling you basically that you're kind of using the calling method is going to be your button click, and so that's going to be your calling method to call these other custom methods that you're going to create. And I will go into that a little more here. So the first one here is show book. So when it says accepts the index of a book, so that means basically you're talking an index here, and that's going to be your index with respect to your arrays or your array or list. So that's going to be an integer generally, right? So if the index is invalid, it should display error messages. So I would suggest that most likely you're going to be either passing that between a zero and a, how many you got here? One, two, three, four, five. A zero through four, right? Zero is going to be the first one. Four will be the fifth one. Or I would be the other one would be if it doesn't find a book, I'd pass the -1. So if it's a -1, then you would display the error message. Search by author accepts the name of the author as a string. So it's telling you your parameter. Your parameter is going to be author, the name of the author as a string. So it's going to be a string, and returns the index of the book as an int. So there's your return type. And so you're returning that back to your calling method, which will be your search by author button down here. Okay. And then the next one is search by ISBN. It's going to accept the ISBN of the book as a string. So there's your parameters, a string. And it's going to it's going to return the index of the book that it found as an int. And then your search by keyword, it's going to accept a keyword as a string. So your parameter is going to be your keyword type of string, and it's going to also return an index for the book as an int. So all three of these methods will be returning an int as the location within the array or list of the relevant book, right? And the show book, so within each of those button clicks, you will, based on what is returned by each of these to the button click event, you will then call show book to display it. Anything else I want to point out here? I don't think so. I don't think this is too bad. I don't think this should be too much of a difficulty for anyone. You need to make sure, keyword search, you're using the contains, right? And like I said, just make sure before you start coding, make sure that you know what you're going to be graded on. And I take a look at it when you have it finished. Take another look just to make sure you get all these items completed. Get the maximum amount of points possible. So on here, this is part 2. And you have shirt sizes. Okay, let's go down to the rubrics. So for the first exercise, controls are laid out as expected. Tab order is configured. That's why you need to make sure you check all of these, because it's referring to tab order. So that's 5 points if you don't. Tab order is pretty easy to do, and so you want to make sure you do it. I'll go ahead and review how to do that real quick, because I know it's been a while since we've looked at that. Control names follow naming conventions. Variable names follow naming conventions. UI implements requested functionality, and then you need to make sure that you have all 3 of these methods implemented as described. Okay. So add shirt is going to accept a shirt size as a string and adds it to the user's order. Clear order removes all items from the user's order. So you're wanting to pretty much reset everything, right? You're going to reset however you're holding on to your add shirt. So does it say specifically how to do that? No, it really doesn't. So, I'm probably going to be creating an array or a list, and you're going to be holding on to your order, right? And then you're going to have a clear order button that's just going to go ahead and get rid of all of that. Okay. So in this case, it doesn't really show that you're necessarily returning things. It's vague in that way. I don't see show invoice can just be a void, right? Clear order is definitely going to be a void. Return void. It's not going to return anything, right? Return type's void, I should say, meaning it's not going to return anything. Add shirt accepts the shirt size as a string and adds it to the user's order. So all three of these, I don't see. I would think that there's no reason that anything other than return type being void for all of these. And I would think that in this case, you could just create your user your array, your list that holds on to the orders. At the top of your class, I guess. Okay, let's look at this one here. Creates a program for ordering T-shirts. Users must enter a quantity. Users can enter an optional discount code. Shirts are normally $13.75. Sales tax is 8%. If the discount code is valid, then apply the relevant discount. If the discount code is not valid, then do not apply a discount. So your discount percentage here, 30% off, that would be 0.3, right? 20% off would be 0.2, and then 10% off would be 0.1. You've got two methods here, which is check discount code. So this is going to accept a discount code as a string and returns the discount percentage as a float. So this will be returning to your order button click. This will be returning a float to that. And then this is the show invoice is going to accept the quantity as an int and the discount percent as a float. So that float would be what's going to be returned from your check discount code, right? Then you're going to do your calculation, and then you're going to just display the invoice to the user. Okay, so don't see anything that's really too difficult there. So, just let me know if you have any problems with anything or need anything clarified. I did want to go real quick here, especially because it did talk about that tab order. Which one was that? Does it say it here? Yeah. So that's why you always got to watch, make sure, because I didn't see it up here. I don't think it was mentioned up here, but tab order is configured. So let's just look at that real quick because we probably haven't. I don't know if everyone else has been using that doing that for the different ones all the time. Let me just pull this one up here. So different ways to do tab order here. So here, let's real quick here. Let me just run this. So I know that this is in the incorrect order. So here we got focus on that text field. We hit tab. It's tabbing over here to this one. So it's kind of backwards. Then Edward, then Danielle. So it's kind of backwards, right? So two different ways to do that is you can go to View, Tab Order. You can change your tab order. Obviously, there's a bunch of displays here, so that's why it's having all this. Obviously, you can see where this is 432, so obviously that's why that tab order is incorrect, right? But I think I'd rather just go ahead and do it in the Properties window here. So let's go ahead and go to View, back to view and click tab order to get rid of that again off there. Okay. And I'm just going to select this one. So this tab index is going to be a 1. And let's make this tab index a 2. Change this one. That is 3 now. And let's change this one to a 4. And we can save that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that and see if this is going to work correctly. So we're in the first one. We're going to tab to Danielle, Edward, Francis, and then back to the text. So just wanted to point out how to do that tab index if you haven't been doing that in your other forms. I need to kind of actually check just to see if it hasn't been a requirement in most of our things, but just wanted to make sure, we'll be using that more as we go forward. Okay, so that's that. So yeah, please let me know if you have any other questions about the hands-on test. I don't think it's actually too difficult for as much points as you're going to be getting 200 points for both of those. So I don't think it's actually too difficult. But let me know if you have any questions about that. So we're going to go ahead and go over this labs part 2. So here you want to, a lot of space here, isn't there? Sure is a lot of space for some reason. Yeah, I guess it just does that. I'll fix that later. Oh, all right. So please name your projects. Yeah, let's just change this to real quick. Be consistent. So create a method named reverse, okay, that accepts 4 integers. So you know your parameters are going to be, you're going to have 4 parameters. They're going to be integers. And it says by reference as opposed to by value. You know, most of the things we've looked at a lot of things that by value, but this one's by reference. I'm actually just going to go ahead and highlight that just so. By reference, so you use the REF, right? So take a look at that if you need a refresher on that. This method should reverse the order of all 4 integers that were passed in. So, if you put in a 2, a 4, a 1 and a 3, it should reverse that order, right? I don't think that there's anything too complex on that one. There's different ways to kind of do that, but you can actually make it really simple, and you don't have to, because there's a way to reverse things. You don't want to reverse a string because you're going to have, multiple. You're going to have multiple values. You don't want to. Sometimes you can reverse like a word, right? But here it's a little different because you got 4 different ones. You can do this in a very simple way. So I would just go with the simple approach. Now here, this one is sorted words. So you're going to create a method called sorted that accepts an array for the unsorted word and returns void. So this is not going to return anything, and your parameter is going to be an array. So what you're wanting to do here on this one is you're going to use a string.split, and string.split will actually take this whole phrase and make this into different. We'll make this into a array of different of each word will be its own position in the array, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to go ahead and use the split to split this into an array. And then what you can do on this, I'll just give you a hint on this one. So once you get this into an array, you can do something where it's as easy as this. I didn't really want that. But you can do this sort array. Array.sort, and then you can assort your array. So then it will go ahead and grab, like here you see B. So this is alphabetical, right? B, then D, F. So it's going to sort each word, okay, alphabetically. But it's as easy as array.sort, and then pass it your array, and you will get your array from doing the string.split, okay? Let's see, lab 3, write a GUI application accepts a bid for an online auction in different formats. And this is kind of all doing a lot of splitting for the most part. Because like here, if you split this string, the first part would be $1. Your next part is going to be a 34. So that way you just, one way to get rid of the $sign, then you just discard the $sign. Then obviously here you're doing a split here. The first one's going to be 34. The second one would be dollars. You split, right? Just like we did the split on the previous one, you can split these, or and then do contains. Could be another way, or a variation of both. Maybe I'll go ahead and what I think I'm going to go ahead and do, I think I'm going to create a short little video on splitting strings into arrays, and that I'll do a short little video and send that out. Okay. I always go through these because I just want to make sure to be careful to make sure that you have your parameters, because it kind of tells you what your parameters are. It tells you what your return is. You just need to make sure that you always code your method based on what parameters you have. In this case, accepts a string and it returns a string. And usually that kind of tells you too that this is, sometimes you can just call a display thing that's just going to return void, right? It's just going to display the information and that's it. So you know that you're not doing anything with you're not returning it, so the calling method isn't really doing anything with it, right? If you just do a void, if it's a void method, but if it returns a value, the calling method is going to be taking that, it needs that data for something, right? Either to call another method, or it's going to be using it within that. Usually we're talking about button.click events, and that button.click method. If the requirement tells you that it's returning a value, your custom method you're creating, then that button.click event's going to be doing something with that, right? If it's just displaying something, and kind of we went through a little bit of that refactoring of that homes form, the home sales form, whereas where we just did some void methods where it just displayed, but always realize that if the I'm reiterating this multiple times, that if the requirement tells you to return a value, that the calling method needs that value for some reason, and either to do something within that button click event just with that, or maybe sending that to another method, right? Okay, and then lab 4 is write a GUI that accepts up to 20 integers and calculate some statistics about those integers. Create a method called calculate stats, which, here, the entered integers should be stored as an integer array named numbers, and the count of numbers entered so far should be stored in an integer named count. Create a method named calculate stats, which has an output parameters named min for the lowest number, has an int output parameter of max for the highest number passed in, and has a double output parameter named sum for the sum of the numbers passed in. Has a double output parameter named average for the average of the numbers passed in, and accepts a parameter array of ints containing all the numbers you wish to calculate statistics for. And there you go, does not have a return value. And then here once again, please remember to set your tab order. So that's about all I have, unless anybody has any questions about anything.